Good morning. I'm going to get this out before my inbox is flooded with messages. There is some breaking news, and I'll get to that. The premiers are meeting in Toronto on how to deal with the US. I'll get to that. Why is gasoline so expensive this morning? I'll tell you. And I finally have RBC's forward guidance for tomorrow's inflation report. But first up, the breaking news: Chrystia Freeland has resigned from Justin Trudeau's cabinet. And it shocks nobody. Chrystia Freeland was enormously unpopular for her out-of-touch comments, like the Disney Plus comment, the Vibe session. Comments like that just undermined her credibility. Canadians know that there's an issue with the GDP and the economy. We know that the economy has been propped up by this unsustainable immigration that has now changed course. So what's the plan going forward? Well, the plan doesn't include her. This is just my opinion of what's going to happen. Mark Carney's going to take over. I am sure the Liberals will find a seat for him somewhere. He will first become the Liberal finance minister, and then he's going to take over for Justin Trudeau before the next election. Now look, I'll be honest. I'm going to tell you right now. If my choices in the next election are Elizabeth May, Jagmeet Singh, Justin Trudeau, and Pierre Poilievre, I'm going to vote for the Bloc. Throw him into the mix? Oh, that changes things. Now, before Conservative voters lose their mind, just remember, you can't support Stephen Harper and say that he was a wonderful PM and at the same time say that he was a terrible governor for the Bank of Canada. Mark Carney has more to do with the recovery from the great financial collapse than Stephen Harper does. Stephen Harper's decline in popularity just coincidentally coincided with Mark Carney leaving for the Bank of England. All right, I'm going to say this right now. Doug Ford should be the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. I'll be honest, if he was on the ballot, the choice would be difficult. And I don't even like Doug Ford. But I like his tough talk in regards to the U.S. And right now, the premiers are meeting in Toronto to talk about what they are going to do if the U.S. imposes tariffs. You've heard by now that Doug Ford plans to shut down energy exports from Ontario to the U.S. if the tariffs go in place. On top of that, he's suggested the Liquor Control Board not buy any more U.S. booze, and they are one of the largest purchasers of alcohol in the world. If you've seen images of my bar downstairs, you know that we here in Ontario like to drink. With good reason. Now, he has made it clear that he is speaking for Ontario. Alberta and Quebec, they want to go with diplomacy. His answer to that: good luck. Why are gasoline prices so high this morning? Well, for one thing, Israel is bombing the shit out of Syria. Anytime something happens in the Middle East, that's going to send prices upward. And on top of that, there's an estimated spill of 3,700 tons of oil in the Kerch Straight. Where the fuck is that? It's over here between Crimea and Russia. It's how the Russians get their oil into the Black Sea. Some of you still believe this war between Russia and Ukraine is about NATO. It's not about NATO. All right, lastly, the inflation report comes out tomorrow. I finally got RBC's forward guidance. What did they have to say? They expect headline inflation to come in at 1.9%, and shelter inflation still accounts for a disproportionate share of overall inflation. Here's shelter inflation. The yellow is rentals. The blue is owned accommodation. As you can see, when we started cutting the interest rate, that shelter inflation started to drop radically. Mortgage interest cost and rent will still be the number one and number two drivers of inflation. Insurance will come in at number 3. If you saw my video on Friday, I said 1.8 is going to be our headline number. What is going to be the differentiation between 2, 1.9, and 1.8? Gasoline. Now, they released the average price of gasoline at the same time they released the inflation numbers, so we won't know until tomorrow. But it looks like November's prices were about the same as November from last year. The difference between November of 2023 and November of 2024 is going to be the big deciding factor as to whether this is 1.8, 1.9, 2, or 2.1. As always, I will give you a breakdown as soon as we get the numbers.